Welcome to the Sparky Coach podcast. This platform was built by Sparkies for Sparkies. We simply exist to make business owners more profitable, or businesses more profitable and more predictable. So we want to work with people that work hard because we love working hard too, that work smart because you got to be on top of the business, people that are kind because no one likes a dickhead. Am I right? People who want results because that's what we're here for, right? And people who want to be part of a like-minded community. So if you're interested in hearing more about the platform, please reach out and enjoy the podcast.
Right. Welcome to the Sparky Coach Lounge pod. Got our guest today, Brad Hibberd from Hibb Electrical, Air and Solar down in Hobart. Welcome along, Hibb. Good to have you along. Thanks for
Thanks
coming.
for having me. Thanks for having me, Cam, and good to be here. Cheers, mate.
No worries at all, mate. Good to have you too. Looking forward to it. From the Apple Isle, getting on board. So it's good to represent Tasmania, I suppose. So first one, Tassie boy your whole life?
Not my whole life. I did a stint actually toward the end of my apprenticeship for 4 years in the Sunshine Coast as a Sparky up there as well. So,
Yeah, lovely, sweet. But born and bred.
yes.
Spent a lot of, beautiful down there. I'm going to touch on, are you looking forward to getting a footy team in the AFL, or you're not too fussed on that?
Yeah, no, it'd definitely be good. Good for the community, and it'd be good for obviously us anyone in the trade sector to build the stadium very close to where we're sort of based, which is all positives for us really if it goes ahead.
Yeah, lovely. No, that's exciting. I think seems to be a bit of buzz around it. Seems to be a bit of it's a hot point of topic, I think, on a number of fronts. So we'll see how it all sort of pans out. But a lot of people I know from Tassie are very excited around that front because I'm a bit of a footy fan myself.
Yeah,
So
well, we're AFL dominated state for sure. So I spend my weekends sort of playing and all the rest of it as well. And then this year I haven't played because I retired, but I've been still involved in local sort of footy clubs. So it's a massive thing in Tassie for most people.
yeah, so you've been involved pretty much playing, or obviously playing most of your life up until recently, and then still involved with the club as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Yeah,
sponsor them and all the rest of it. One of our first years still played footy at the club as
yeah,
well. So yeah.
yeah, nice. So big part of the weekend, sort of, I guess or community base, I guess, overall across the whole of the state as a whole.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And you'd find most local communities down here very big on there, especially the more rural you get, the more they love their football clubs. So yeah, it'd be good to get an AFL team for
Yeah,
sure.
beautiful, beautiful. Um, how do you find, so just touching on that there, so sponsor the footy club, and obviously one of your boys is working there as well. Is that more of a, hey, giving back to the community that
Yeah,
you
it
enjoy?
doesn't bring in a whole lot of work, to be honest.
Yeah,
It's just me giving back to the community that
yeah,
I come from and grew up in, for sure.
yeah,
We do a few things like that. There's some free food programs for people struggling that we sponsor. Like each year I'll donate some money just for the carols, to, like, the local carols and that. But yeah, like our sort of local community, we do a few things like that for sure.
yeah. Yeah, no, nice. So heavy involvement in the community, then that's good to hear. So, give us a bit of background first. So let's wind it back to getting your apprenticeship in the trade game. So how did that come about? Was it electrical always something you were interested in? Did you get out of school early to get involved into it? You were that keen, or was it something that sort of popped up on your sort of radar and then got involved in it?
Yeah, so my highest level of schooling, I suppose, would be year 10. It's pretty common for most people in Tassie to go to year 11 and then do a dual enrollment, like say, to pay for a cert to an electrotechnology, which is what I did.
Hmm.
Uh, and then I got picked up out of there within a month or two for an apprenticeship. It was pretty hard to get apprenticeships at the time. So I think only like 4 or 5 people out of like 20, 25 kids ended up in getting apprenticeships. Sam, manager, was also in that class and managed to get picked up. So uh, it's funny how things roll out. But yeah, we both want to be Sparkies and we're both in school, in high school. So we both went sort of different ways. I got picked up with sort of a larger, it was sort of an employment agency, but I spent the majority of my time on large commercial projects like nursing homes and there for 2 years, for example, and then on to another one for a year after that.
Yeah.
A lot of it was commercial, so I hadn't had a lot of domestic experience, whereas Sam, my ops manager, was rewiring houses, doing fixing up, went to a small firm that just did domestic, predominantly service and maintenance work, so not really much new for construction. And then for like for sort of personal reasons, I wanted to move to Sunshine Coast. The so I left. I was halfway through my third year at that time.
Yeah.
And I knew the exposure that I needed to get. I was like, I'm really confident with everything. I just need some residential experience here, and predominantly, realistically, sort of new homes would be good. So I turned down probably 3 apprenticeships when I first got to Sunny Coast and just spent 2 or 3 months unemployed.
Yeah.
And then eventually got on with a large scale company that was very cutthroat, did sort of like a lot of really basic new homes. So it was very sort of like in and out.
Yeah.
Make sure it was sort of
Volume
there.
projects.
Volume. Yeah. So I had to let go of that sort of commercial sort of fiddliness and go, everything can't be perfect anymore. Like, and sort of get that house the mentality going. So, which was really good for me. So I spent 4 years with them, and as much as I didn't really like the politics of that company, that didn't really look after the employees that well. But it definitely shaped where I needed to be with business, and I wouldn't be here today without it. So now I know that whole time I'm poor money with this shit work, I'm not getting looked after. It's eventually amounted to something for sure. So, and then eventually I moved back so I was definitely like qualified then for a couple of years, and then moved back um, to Tassie. That was just a financial reason. Like Sparky's down here, I wasn't in Brisbane, so Sparky's on the coast was sort of getting paid well. And then I came home to like $10 more an hour. Went back to commercial, and was running a commercial medical centre for the company that I did my apprenticeship with, and ended up running that job for them. And yeah, bought a block and the build. So essentially, it was just easier to get a house and down here, because at the time everything was a lot more affordable down here than most places on the mainland. And then yeah, from there I went on to run sort of a really massive project. So I wasn't just head supervisor in that one. There was a project manager on site at all times. Then there was a supervisor under him that sort of ran the boys, and that will run the leading hands. So there'd be about 3 to 4 leading hands that would run the 6 guys on different floors, depending on which floor needed the most guys. But it was probably 12 to 16, 18 blokes there, all under the one banner, and that was still for the company I did my apprenticeship for.
Yeah.
And they got a little bit quiet in COVID and started to do the try and save money, and sort of took a few of our work years and just a few incentives got cut. Tried to put people on sort of forced leave, and that I'm sort of very moral and black person, especially when you're doing 70 hours. It's fine to get them across the line. Jobs you don't expect to be treated like that. So they were sort of throwing around some redundancies, and making, the average trade is redundant basically, but I sort of sent them an email. It was like, I don't want to work here anymore, so just give me a redundancy and let someone else keep their job, because I'm not going to basically come to work for you again.
Yeah.
And I suppose most business owners, like I'm a very driven person. Most business owners at some point would realise I'm a better business owner than I am an employee, and that made me good at running their job. But I was probably a very difficult employee, because they'd be like, "No, you're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to do this."
Yeah.
So, yeah, it made me difficult, definitely. But that's helped me a lot in business. So I was just like, right, and then I was like, oh, I'll just start. I was like, that was when sort of COVID was happening. It was hard to work, so that. Right, I was just doing some cafes for people through the footy club. Yeah. I was like, I'm just getting 2 to 3 days worth of work here without even trying. This is just word of mouth, it's all that. So when I made the decision to work for myself, I sat down, I was like, right, knocked out my contractors in 44 or 5 days, like I did massive, just getting
Yeah.
through it all. And then I knew one of the teachers from my apprenticeship, so like he realised my name, and I was like, told him the situation, I want to get going ASAP, so he kind of pushed the marking through quickly for me, and we got all the bells and whistles, spent a couple of weeks just getting all like the insurance and as organised as what I thought I was, for business. And next thing, started booking in my first lot of work, and I was like, oh, I just want to get 40 hours for myself. And, now we're here, 15 of us. So,
Here we are,
so
sort of,
yeah.
in the blink of an eye, I guess, sort of thing. It can all go from there. So if we go backwards a little bit there, so obviously a bit of a diverse range of work that you've sort of been in, but a real exposure to the larger style projects in Tassie and Hobart, which were probably, I'm assuming probably some were government funded style works, and then some were like large scale private sector, you know, Australia wide style companies in a sense who were doing large scale projects. What sort of what sort of interested you and sort of, I guess, excited you on that style of work on that front, across the sort of early years of your apprenticeship and then also post becoming a tradie when you came back? What did you enjoy about that style of work?
Yeah, I think with sort of the biggest sector in the commercial sector, you'll find like this, obviously the specifications and the plans are never the same. Each job's going to be a little bit different. Uh, a lot of people could find it quite stressful to go, read through the specifications. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to wire this or configure this in a certain way. I actually just found it quite, rewarding to challenge myself with a sense to get like a project manager to drop you a set of plans and go, oh, I don't really know a whole lot about it myself, so go figure out how you're going to wire and make this all work and go through the specifications and then sit there for figure it all out and then once you get the boys going, and no, I really really liked it. And um, I suppose in a sense those jobs too are like a little bit easier in a sense of being an employee, like as long as you're doing a good job and you're working hard, you definitely meet the time frames. I feel like the time frames in residential are a lot lighter than what they are in projects. So, um, give you the time to sort of perfect everything and get it done really well. So
And in
that's what
the,
I enjoyed about that.
yeah, and then so the detail, yeah, let's just look at it in a set of plan sense, like you said, generally in the commercial space. The plans are a lot more detailed in the sense of they're engineered, designed, and essentially all the information's there. It's just how to A, find it, and B, interpret it. By the sounds of it, A, you enjoyed it, actually looking and reading through and establishing it, and sort of, I guess, joining anyone out there listening who hasn't been involved in it. Might not understand, and I'll go into a bit of a detail, but anyone who has been involved in it will understand. Generally, set of plans, multiple pages. You basically just got to pull the information from multiple pages, and then it all comes together for that section, so to speak. So you may have schematics on one set of plans, you've got the floor plan on one, and then you've got a set of fixtures and fittings, to obviously reference to be like, hey, what is L1? What does it stand for example, and things like that. So it seems to me that you actually enjoyed that part of getting drawing all information, probably to a point actually found it quite, I don't like to we use the word easy, but definitely I've experienced it. Some people just find it straightforward. And I would say I'm one of those people in the sense of like, I actually enjoy reading through different sets of plans and then being like, oh, well, hey, this says this says that, this is what we got to do. So do you find I guess, pretty straightforward and actually quite enjoyable as well?
Yeah, 100%. I do find it enjoyable. Otherwise, I don't think you have the focus or patience to do it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So either if you're one of those, it doesn't make you an electrician. I think
No.
if you don't have the patience to do it, you're probably going to be, you could be the 2IC to the supervisor, if you know what I mean. You're probably the guy that's getting the bulk of the work done on site, but you need the instruction to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely worked with plenty of guys and they're gun electricians, but they just don't have the patience or enjoy the sitting poring over the plans. Yeah.
that don't get getting stuck in the detail. In that light, was there anything that sort of frustrated you, or I guess parts of in that commercial space that you sort of were like, oh, geez, I wish I could improve this or change that, that you sort of learn along the way?
Uh, yeah, definitely. I worked with some really good guys, but you see some really, I wouldn't say bad, but like average guys come through that sector because it's an easy place to hide on like this need labour. So probably rely on the bigger jobs on the project. But I think say we had 10 guys, five would be guns and really good. And then the other five are probably just there to make up the numbers and get it across the line. Working with A plus players only want to work with A plus players, you know. So working with people like that can be a problem sometimes, especially when you ask them, go do this, and you can't understand what they say. It's not, you know, that can give you the shit. So uh, I actually really enjoy as after I worked experience and just did predominantly new homes, although I did some of those sections where I think I did 90 townhouses in like gated communities. So that was a venture between like commercial and
Yeah.
resi, where it's like commercial switchboards, boards and all that. I think I like working with a small amount of people, good crew, all sort of work hard, and then that's what we sort of got in the resi space. I was like, because now I'm sort of like I've done a lot of work. I probably prefer to because I'm like, oh, I've got a gun apprentice and man, we're going to smack this wrapping out today. You know, like this, I'm not relying on it. So if you've got a good train, yeah, no, it just makes your life a little bit easier. So now, as I've sort of progressed, and like, not that I wouldn't go back to that commercial space. We do commercial projects, smaller commercial projects now. Um, but it's definitely like if we got not as interested in the bigger scale stuff anymore. It's like I'd rather do the sort of architectural new home that's really thinly yeah, but you know, you've got a couple guys in there working hard. It comes together really well.
Yeah. And then so obviously moving out of that space when you move to the sunny coast, obviously mindset obviously shift has to occur to go into that I'm gonna say volume um project style space in there. What sort of obviously probably a bit of a shock to the system, but also too you were seeking it out, so I'm assuming it wasn't like complete like, hey, um I don't know what I'm doing here sort of thing. What things did you pick up in that sector? What did you learn from it? And sort of what did you sort of enjoy about it and sort of not enjoy and your sort of key takeaways from working in it and sort of examples of some type of the work that you were doing like job wise.
Yeah, so I got thrown straight in basically those townhouses to start with. So I got probably a week or two where I was just with a trade, like with a trade and a few apprentices working on all these townhouses that were being built. And some of them were a little bit average, especially some of the apprentices that ended up being sacked by this company, but it was taking too long for them to like for the job to be done, to be wrapped in. So naturally then a new guy, I sort of got blamed for it, but I was actually working pretty hard majority of the time. And you're only sort of watching how other people work when you're with you. So it's like, oh, he's not that quick. So, you know, I'll just keep perfecting everything in this commercial mentality and everything I did was spot on. But it definitely get too slow. And the supervisor sort of had to work. And it was like, if you're going to last here and you want to last, you gotta you gotta get going. So I'm gonna share the crews and we can hide because there's four of you at the moment. You and Jane, who's now this mate. So I can't go see him Sunny Coast all the time. Like he was the first year, but the same age as me because I started my apprenticeship when I was 17. So
Yeah.
we'll sort of go on. Yeah, I'm just going to try you on this next block of townhouses, um, and you and him are going to do it. And if you don't do it, right, then in the required time, basically yeah,
Yeah.
and so that was I had a few sleepless nights and was like, as I do, I'm always like I'm not a quitter. I just sort of took it in my stride and was like, right. And then I think we wired the first three bedroom, two bathroom house. Just started at 7, all done by 1:30 up to
Yeah.
everything done. And then supervisor, that was sort of halfway through my third year, supervisor walked through and made sure everything was spot on, and he's like, yeah, it's sweet. So he realised that it wasn't really the problem, but then I said, because I proved myself that, like, well, now you're going to take over these, did a really good job on that, and he's like, you're going to do a lot with James basically now. And I
Yeah.
was there for a year or two after that. And then after that, like sort of those townhouses ended finished. I just ended up with one of their volume builders that could build a house in Gympie, up the bush or somewhere, like anywhere. So it could be at Gympie, I could be North Brisbane, I could be out in Nango West. The time frames are very strict given the travel, but you just had to hook in and get it done. Some days would be 8, some days would be 10, some would be 12. Like work 16 hours for those guys as well.
Mhm.
Crazy, but I really enjoyed the ones, especially at Gympie, and because you're like, that's up on the hill, you got nothing, like it's just you and an apprentice, and you got the radio cranking, especially if the apprentice is competent, you're like, I'll quickly mark everything out, bracket everything out, keeps wide all the power, and probably all your individual circuits then, and I'm jumping on the lights, like, we're sort of out of it, like it was really cruisy, and we just got into this really good flow of what was going on. So,
Yeah. So when that supervisor came and had a conversation with you, did you appreciate it? Like in the sense of, and you can look at it in a sense of at the time or even in hindsight. Um, did you appreciate, like, I guess the straightforwardness around it of like this, it is what it is.
I
'Cause
think as an employee, you never really understand those conversations until I understand them better now.
yeah,
But I thought, well, maybe, oh, is it, it's like, so, yeah, it's a bit,
yeah, yeah,
and then, but then as I proved myself, I seemed the softer side for him. Like, he'd really look after me after once I was working hard for him. So once I'd sort of found it was like, this guy's good, and there was no, like, was never really an issue after that. Like, other guys would have constant issues with him, but I never really did because I was like, but they were the problem. They weren't the best employee and they were the problem. So I was like, the saying, if you've got a hard side to him, you've got a side that can be secure on the side of it. So I was like, I'll pick the side I'm on, just work hard and that's fine. So, and then now I think as a boss, like all my praise and my good trades were like that. So my first, when I was a first in commercial, like he was a real hard, so the head
yeah,
supervisor, and I had a lot of apprentices didn't like that with him. Yeah, I thought I wouldn't, but he actually liked me, but he didn't take me. But
Mhm.
he shaped a lot of who I am now. So I find in business now I can be a little bit maybe too hard at times, but I am really good to the guys. So it's just like when someone comes on, like you'll decide whether you like it or not. Because if you work well with me, there's not like I'll walk in the morning, I'll have a joke and stir them up. There's never an issue. They load up for the day. And if they're doing their job properly, I don't really hear from them too much. So it'll be a bit of a technical question and they're fine, they're smashing it out. It's the bridge tradies that come through are the bad ones where they're going to have a hard time because I am a little bit picky with how things done. So can sort of become a bit of a issue as well if they'll come in and openly go, no, I'm not doing that. Just like,
Mhm.
yeah, so it's course over a month or two and then they'll end up resigning sort of thing.
yeah, right. So moving through that space, then it sounds like it was you had an enjoyable time once you sort of had once the boundaries or parameters were set. And I can probably reference and relate to it in a way too. Like I had a period of time with an employer. We were doing sort of the volume style homes as well. And I would probably I can resonate with you in that sense that once you understand the expectations around it and an understanding of um, what is needed to the outcomes that are wanted. I actually think it's one of the most enjoyable times of my career and life in the industry, if I'm being honest, because like you said, you can be somewhere, tunes are going, everyone's upbeat, I think, sort of thing. And when you sort of, and that, getting into that groove sort of thing, and I guess a routine of what you're churning out each day, each week, it can be really, really enjoyable. So by the sounds of it, it was something that it almost becomes really fun. Would you sort of agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when I was with my mate, we'd just be making up songs, singing them to the other end of the house to each other. Like, yeah, it was a really enjoyable time, and we both look back at. He has his own business on the Sunny Coast now, so
Yeah.
we both look back at that. And like, at the time, we worked some massive days, and you're like, "Oh, I'm exhausted, or I hate that." I don't think I'll ever have a harder time in my career than
Mm.
that sort of 3 or 4 year period through there for sure.
So obviously coming back, go back, move back home, and obviously then the COVID period hits, which obviously forced a lot of hands across the board for a lot of people. Um, and sort of you're then moving out into Hib, the business that it is. What do you sort of feel like the key sort of areas that shaped you in regard to how you feel like you sort of operated and went about business initially, from your influences across the different sectors that you worked in? What do you feel like your key takeaways or key people that you sort of like, I'm going to model myself on that, or I put a high importance of that particular piece of information or advice that someone's given me along the way?
Yeah, so I think to start with, obviously I started doing predominantly residential service and maintenance. Yeah, like mum and dad. And what predominantly shaped the business was my time in Queensland working for that. It was just like that hard work ethic
Mhm.
to go. I won a lot of work because I was like, I know I can do it in this time because I got pushed so hard in the past.
Yep.
So then, they're like, I do what the Sparky, I point out it's just something someone put, better crew then will probably take it down. So all of a sudden I got really busy because I was like, oh, go with Brad because it was really good. I'm sort of really fiddly and like, work hard the whole time. So naturally I booked myself out quite quickly. But as we progressed to have staff and become more professional, I've learned on and as we've grown. There's a couple of that there, but the 20 to 30% of the commercial side of this come into it now. Where like as the more builders, the capsule stuff comes in, the plans that you've got to sit there and pull apart. Um, how you want to deal with stuff when there's variations from builders, like it can't just be a verbal confirmation of, yeah, mate, chuck this there. Like, so as the business progresses, even the girls that have been trained in the admin side of things, as soon as there's a variation, everyone knows about it, resolve it, and it's all fine. As like, for that stuff, more the commercial sector for sure, as the business evolves. So I think we're a cut of both, which is really good.
Hmm.
And then Sam Ops, who's obviously been a good mate of mine for a long time. He predominantly was cut from just the resi service and maintenance. So he's took a little bit to get used to the paperwork and the formalities of everything, but he's really, really good and like technically minded as well. So we're definitely a cut of all areas really
Yeah.
for that side of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Nice. Is there anything, do you think, that's changed in the industry over your time in it that sort of that you notice has sort of had a big influence across the board at all?
Definitely. So I had only done a few solar systems. Obviously, I haven't heard them talk about much of that in my time because I hadn't done it. And Sam, to start with, had only done a few throughout his apprenticeship and that as well.
Mhm.
So that's obviously an area that's really escalated around Australia. And being in Tassie, we are, even if you're in Hobart, the area is quite rural. So if we're having a downturn, it's not like you can even the X amount of advertising more. It's not always going to help because we don't have the populations of a dense capital city like everyone else does. So that is definitely sort of was a challenging time. So as we grew, when there was about 4 or 5 guys, and I took long service leavings from the military, so when I got Sam sort of managed the business when I was away. Um,
Mhm.
I said to Sam that I feel like there's probably a downturn coming next year. We like everyone to keep everyone employed. So we're going to diversify. I'm going to take your workload back off you and fly you to Melbourne. You're going to do your solar course. You're going to do your go out to Wodonga and that and do your off-grid course. You're going to do your on-grid batteries. You're going to go over and you're going to do all of it. You're going to be qualified in all of it. So when we come back, we're not only be able to do solar, but then what sort of worked out well is one of their builders did 2 off-grid homes and had them coming up, so we just didn't let any other stuff. That was part of it. We're not letting any other Sparkies have their foot in the door there. And because Sam is so technically minded, he sometimes can be quite focused on what he's doing. So sometimes in the project space, if it's too big, there could be a lot going on, sort of, to the left and right. If if he sits here with his solar and goes, I've got to design an off-grid system that's going to be capable of this and that, I couldn't have anyone better for the role than him to be doing that. So I didn't have time to be running and doing everything in the business as well as going to just upskill myself to be able to do all this. Something would have fell over in the business, so we can only be doing so much. So Sam was the guy that showed us that skill in the solar space. And now we've diverse quite a large amount, to the point where like his enhanced technical capabilities there is huge. So basically, if you I can design a normal solar system, but if you're getting to sort of batteries and off-grid, he's the guy that does the quotes and goes and has a look at all that. So the business is diversifying to such a point where I can't do it all myself.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's a key player. Have you had to train up other people in the solar space as well to get them qualified as well, so they understand what's going on in this?
So this is always an ongoing thing. So one of our trainees that come over, he had done a fair bit of solar, and then it's a little bit bad, but the 4th year he was working with at the time, David, where he was working too, and he's like, all right, how are you liking it? Where you just went, he's like, it's good. And he's like, I'll want to come too. And this is when we we're just getting into the solar space. And those boys have done a lot of solar. So I was like, yeah, I'll make a coach him too. So he quit his apprenticeship where he's at and finished it with us.
Yeah.
So then we got a set 4th year guy that was really good at solar. And they needed a little bit more assistance with the normal sort of lighting and power, like electrical stuff, but they've both got really good attitudes and they can, but they definitely are solar work. But the last company didn't even pay for them to have done a solar ticket. Understandable the 4th year, but the other one hadn't have it either. So I've paid for both of them to sit there and for a week and we can sign everyone off in house now. There's no flying them anywhere.
Okay, yeah.
They can do the practical competency with us. We just have to take photos and videos of what they're doing and send it through. But we get to sign the competencies off there, but they need to still do the online course and training. So they've both done that on grid, and then it's just a slow development now as to what we're going to train them in. Tricia is probably waiting for that quieter quarter in January of the new year where, okay, they might have to go to Launceston too for that. So we just sort of send them up there to do some on-grid battery training, and then off-grid's a whole other course as well. So just a development in that process. But no, I had another solar guy, he came from Brisbane actually. He lives down the Tasman Peninsula, but he's just pretty cruisy and loves surfing, so he works a couple of days a week, but he's an absolute gun at solar.
Yeah.
And trees and all the rest of it. So he's definitely handy, but he would just does a couple of days a week for us, sort of thing.
Yeah, cool. And then, so obviously that's a big change in the industry that hasn't been around and it's growing. How did you sort of broach the conversation with existing clients, or did you aggressively go after the market to try and to pick up your workload, or was it just something that organically just occurred?
No, to start with, I went pretty aggressive at it with the advertising and like chasing clients and builders, and for sure. And then now it's sort of just starting to happen more organically. So there's always that organic thing there, but in a rural place, if you're just relying on word of mouth, it's And yeah, it's maybe to facilitate you, but not for our business. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we definitely we've been big on advertising, but it's definitely grown organically for sure as well. And then other builders that have come on that are new, or like checking out our socials, seeing what we're doing for other builders. So it's a mixture of everything. And they've probably heard the advertising or seen the advertising, then they've checked our socials out, and then they send a quote through and it's come up good. And then like, just, it could be like a month, we just nurturing that relationship for 2 to 3 months. My first big builder that we got, which is, I'd sent him an email because I got a quote from him to build my house. So I went through everyone that had got a quote on to build my house and just introduced myself when I started the business. And most of them didn't reply. One of them was just like, down here is sitting at 8 o'clock at night on my laptop doing this probably one day. And then I won't say the builders no, because it's okay, but basically, he reached out 6 or 12 months later and he was having issues with his current electrician. So I don't think I even had a builder until sort of 2 years in, maybe 5 years in there. So,
Yeah.
and then he sort of reached out, like, no, my other one's got the shit, I'd saved your email. So, quite these projects, and if you come in something similar, here's your ring. I was like, right. And we come in basically each other, and he's just like, right, you're in. So,
Yeah.
and then we've worked with him for the last 3 years. And good. Invited me to his like 60th birthday and all the rest of it. We get along really well. And they like seeing him too, the ops manager as well. So then we've sort of picked up a couple more companies like that since, because they have been down here sort of nearly 20 years. So everyone knows who they are. We've got a person. So the fact we do that work helps way.
Yeah. So touching on that there, so a sort of bit of a theme I've picked up so far is that there's a sort of a real strong tie to relationships, whether it be with people you've worked with, um, in an apprentice or a tradie sense, or obviously with clients that you've worked with previously, or your clients now. Is it something you work on consistently with the relationship side of it, or do you feel like it's just naturally that's just your personality, and you're good at building and maintaining and developing relationships?
No, you always have to maintain. Always have to be maintained. Especially like, I've noticed a lot of builders to deal with administration either. Like, I don't know if it's a chauvinistic thing or what it is, but the builders and the supervisors always still just call me and say,
Mhm.
just they've got a personal number, they know if they call me. If the head of the building company calls me at 7 o'clock at night, he knows his boundaries, so it's urgent. Something's happened, like he might have lost power at his house or something, but he's calling me for a reason.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, and it's just like a relationship there. Like, and I know, like, Greg, and it might stress like 25 to 5, and I wouldn't answer a normal
Yeah.
call, you know what I mean? Like a moment that if they tried to call or something, but if the owner of one of the building companies tried to call me, I'm going to answer, because it's like, that's the sort of relationship we have, and they're just like, oh, he's reliable, he's good, and I like it that we send him to it. So yeah, and if I haven't heard, we're always working on projects with them, so I think I meet them on a job once a fortnight, once a week, but depending on who it is on a different building company, I just fling a little bit of shit at them, have a joke, talk about their personal life for a little bit. One of the managers of another one that we work for, he's going to Europe for a couple of weeks, in a few weeks, and going to Oktoberfest and stuff. And we spent an hour talking about that the other day after the
Yeah.
quote and stuff, because I've been over there too, so we're just sort of having a chat about everything. But just building that relationship, I don't think you have to go out and take them for lunch or anything, although that's probably nice. You can just see them. If you're working with a builder, they're going to constantly have stuff going on, so you can always be nurturing that relationship, I think.
Yeah. No, I think yeah, and then obviously, you've obviously kept some good relationships too with people that you've worked with at the time, because obviously a number of guys work with you now as
Yeah.
well. Obviously place a huge importance on that as well. That sort of you're probably likable and get on along with most people on site, and then in turn, that they looked for opportunities now that you've got him going as well.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't say we brought a whole lot over from the commercial sector. We have tried, and a lot of them that have done like been qualified a couple of years can't make a cut. Um, it's just too it's too hard to switch over. I think I was lucky I switched over when I was at halfway through my third year because I was like, well, I have to finish my apprenticeship so I can make this work, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's easier for someone from a residential background to probably cross to commercial and then figure it out if they're sort of switched on. You can give them a push for them. Don't want to come back from that. So I haven't employed a heap of people that are new throughout the time. I was there because a lot of mine in Tasmania was the commercial space, obviously. A lot of my resi space was in Queensland. So, uh, but yeah, I definitely get along with most of the guys here for sure. I have to, it's a pain sometimes. I find, and you probably get the same. It's a hard being the boss and you consider them some of them times like your mate, but at the same time, you've got to be firm. Like there's times you have to be firm on what needs to be done. And like that really knocked me around. It still does sometimes now. Like I'll dwell on if I've had to sort of give someone a hard time because it sort of eats me up inside a little bit because you're like, oh, I had to be not, you know, not real nice to this fella today because of this and that, but you generally like him as a person. And
Mm.
I've been pretty slow to fire in the past as well because of those sort of reasons as well. I do find it quite hard. Probably definitely a challenging point in business for sure.
Yeah, and so with the diversification side of things too, so obviously moved into solar space as well, and then so there's obviously the air component as of or air conditioning component as well. Is
Yeah.
that a large part or sort of just an add-on?
Look, it's just we do a lot of splitties and
Yeah.
ducteds, like we do splitties and ducteds, so a lot of residential stuff.
Mhm.
When it gets to the commercial sector, we're not really operating in the HVAC
Yeah,
fridgy side of things.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
In Tassie, you can have a cert too,
Uh-huh.
refrigeration, which allows you to do splitties and small adapters and things like that.
Yeah,
And then we can't do a subby he's not a Sparky, he's like Fiji and that, and then he does 2 to 3 days a week with he's a gun, sort of splitties and ducters and things.
yeah,
He can take on larger scale stuff as well, but we haven't just sort of commercial area yet.
yeah. No, no, okay, no problems at all. So then now, what sort of a typical day looks like for him now with the team that you've got operating there, and sort of what do you get up to?
Uh, it could be a number of different things. Obviously, we're still new to some of the stuff sort of coming on. So I'm training someone at the moment into releasing some of the invoicing. But look, normally I keep a pretty strict routine. I'm up about 4 or something like that. I'll be going to the gym and stuff, and I'm in the workshop by 7 because I find if something does pop up at work, the gym's the first to get thrown out the window.
Hmm.
To be myself, I need to look after myself. So I'm normally in bed pretty early, you know, something like 4.
Yeah,
That this couple hours when everyone's away is good, so you can sort of get that routine on. And my day could be incredible. I try not to schedule too much in. It's just I might do a quote if there's sort of at capacity, and we've got some clients that need some quotes done. Um, but I just try and keep it open. We've had a lot of people sick lately because we've just had a flu season. So if someone's sick, sometimes I cover on the tools still. I still pick up the tools a lot more than Sam as well.
hmm,
But then at the sometimes I'll have a cruisy day and I get to go home early, or some days I'll get to go fishing. It just depends. There's hopefully a bit more fishing this soon, coming in the summer. But uh, yeah, no, I definitely can run predominantly without me, but there's just like a few. I definitely need sort of 20 hours of work commitment, but I like to come in more because just as some of the admin stuff for learning how to do the invoicing, so I'm just here for questions and nurturing. But a lot of my role now is staff development for sure, just investing in my time into staff. So I could go home and just not be here, but the staff isn't going to they're not going to get anything out of it, you know. So, and I'm a busy person, so I'd rather be here and be hands on and
hmm.
yeah, be involved, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, no, that makes perfect sense because obviously the trade-off and the benefit is for the business overall. So the more you get everyone up to speed on the requirements and expectations of it all, the trade off is the benefit of the whole business. The whole business benefits from it all. In that sense. So what sort of percentages would the different types of areas of work make up, just roughly sort of thing, say like service and maintenance, in a resi sense, then probably, then you probably got your resi project space as well, and then probably solar in different areas. Like, what's the sort of rough split do you feel like it operates at?
Yeah, I reckon roughly we're trying to get better at tracking this too.
Yeah.
So our Simpro obviously has all the drop downs, and the girls we've sort of rearranged to tag it all properly. Service and maintenance might be around 20%, I would say, because we do a fair bit of down stuff in schools and just lighting changeovers and that. And
Yeah.
then you'd say solar would be around sort of 40%, I reckon. Yes, and new homes, and that's probably around 40%. Give or take sort of 5 to 10% for either of them. Sometimes like the projects might die down a little bit, but then the solar would probably increase sort of 10% or so. And then if I you probably give 10% or so to in the winter time, splitties are pretty splitties and ducteds are pretty popular,
Mhm.
but especially in winter. So you find that sort of percentage would probably increase there, but the solar is a little bit less because people are more worried about summertime.
Yeah, it's seasonally affected, the
Yeah,
style
yeah,
doesn't work.
yeah. But solar and batteries definitely is a massive thing for us as well as the projects and new homes.
Yeah, okay, nice. I like that. And then so obviously been going like, number of staff now, been going for a number of years. What sort of key, I guess, decisions that you've made or key pickups that you've picked on the time that have had a big influence on the business? So like by doing, task A or task B or particular way about going things, do you think had big impacts on the business in turning,
Right. So
or being beneficial?
I don't think you'll ever be able to grow a business without understanding your numbers, and that's what actually clicked for me. And I know probably and that sort of harp on about it all the time, but when this clicked for me, you guys, it's like the coach didn't even exist, so I'm not even sort of.
Yeah.
It's just like I was met Greg through another coaching platform, and then I'd already sort of knew my numbers then. But when I met him, he's so like goes even deeper into tracking it, which is so good. But I think once you know and you can figure it out, and then you've got some sort of spreadsheet where you can make the decisions. I'm like, oh God, I'm working 60 hours a week. I need another tradie. Let's hire. I need to chuck another car in here. My workers' comp's going to go up. My uniform's going to go up. My fuel bill's going to go up. You can go through the whole spreadsheet and list and go, what's it all going to increase to? What's it going to spit out? What's our charge out rate? Can I sell that charge out rate? Like, oh, we're getting too expensive, or just putting someone else on actually going to bring me hourly rate down? Is it going to help with everything going? And that's what I was sort of at the moment. Like, I still don't make a business decision without, and I haven't since I've had about two or three guys to now. I do not make a business decision without running the spreadsheet.
Right through the numbers. Yeah, so numbers
Yeah,
have had a big influence on it, I
yeah,
guess, overall then. And
yeah.
then obviously, I guess also too, because I do know you're a bit in the numbers space that you've touched on there, is then understanding what jobs work and what jobs don't work. But also too, I also know, because we've spoken about it before, is that just because a job went poorly doesn't mean it's the client's fault or it's the person who quoted its fault or it's the person who did they're just examples of who it could be. But then understanding, because I know you went through it all once, like measuring out your jobs and understanding where it was, is it was able to make you clear decisions on, oh, well, actually, the technician who's doing that is the problem on that sense, or hey, we're not quoting correctly in that particular space. So does it make it, I guess, black and white for you when you understand when
Yeah,
you
it hardened me up. That's what it did. So I always tracked efficiency, but then when I adopted the new, the spreadsheet, probably August, September, would have been last year, so nearly 12, 13 months ago. Um, it already highlighted what I knew. I came in like, a guy or two that was probably dead weight, and the other guys I knew because the other guys didn't want to work with him. He was never really efficient, he was billing out 7 hours, 8 hours, and stuff like that. And the callbacks and stuff as well. But I just sort of like, oh, I've got so much work on that I can't get rid of them. But then, like, I'd probably nurtured him for way too long. Like, he would have for a couple of years, probably, Like, and I was like, this guy's not going to get there. I can only nurture someone so much. And it just hardened me up. So he's gone now, but it made room for some great guys to come in. So if you're holding on to that guy, like, you're missing the opportunity when the good guy pops up to have capacity to employ him. So that's been a massive development for me. That was just like a click, like a turning point for me to leave the emotions more at the door for going, trying to be the good bloke to everyone. And unfortunately, you can't be good bloke to everyone. Not everyone's going to see you in that light because, you're not going to be able to sort of get rid of the people you need to make the business progress forward.
Yeah. No, it's a really fair point. That I think just understand that not everyone's going to come the journey with you, and that's okay. Like it's okay. It's not. It's just sometimes the glove's not the right fit on one front of it all. And I think once you understand that, and it's a professional decision, essentially, not a personal one, it's all okay. Like it's going to work out, or well, I guess in the end. And I really like what you touched on there. That a lot of people get, I guess, hesitant to be like, oh, we're so busy. And it's like, understand that. But what happens if the opportunity arises that you get someone better or that you actively look for someone better, that the payoff will be tenfold? And I think, I know you've experienced that in that sense. It's that I know we're always going to be busy, but how long can you carry the
Yeah.
the inefficiency for?
We've done it a few times now. It's just, it sounds bad, but I think you need to actively look because either way, they're probably not, if they're not putting their best effort in, they're probably not liking it here either. So one, they're probably going to quit, or two, you're probably going to sack them, but you can tell when it's going. So you need to be actively looking anyway. And then if someone really good pops up, you need to put them on, get them inducted, get them rolling around using your software. Like, don't push them too hard to start with. And then eventually go, well, do I have work for everyone? I'm going to take this work in anyway. And then just let that relationship run its course and then get rid of them if you need to. If that was going to be a better replacement anyway. Well, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's probably happened a couple of times now. I've got at least two where we sort of hire someone and someone else is left not long. It's just like we could tell it was going away. That's why we sort of put the job out. And that probably wasn't necessarily to fire. Like they'd bill out their 8 hours every day and all that, but their attitude just could be poor, right? And then bringing everyone down. Like, oh, but the builders are happy with his work quality and all that. So generally the electrician, but he just doesn't want to be at work. So you're like, right, we probably need that. That's no one wants to do around that. That's toxic. So let's actively look for a replacement at the moment. So you can sort of constructively do it without losing any clients and going, I've just sacked someone, they're gone, so now we can't facilitate this work if they're not doing bad quality work on site. But they've got that little bit of a poor attitude. You can tell they don't want to be there. You could probably, that's how we sort of went about it anyway.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, obviously building that team out and getting the culture sorted, because it's you. I think a key influence, and you touched on it there, is that everyone's got to want to be there. It's not so much about necessarily the skill set. Sometimes just the want, and you're like, oh well, if the want's not there, you can tell, and it can start to affect the whole team, which then has a negative effect across the board, and can be passed onwards to clients and people get the vibe of it all, and then it all becomes an unenjoyable space to sort of operate in. Want to finish up on a couple of questions here. In your time in the game, have you got a favourite job that you've been involved with, completed successfully, or just worked on in generally? Is there one that comes to mind?
The biggest one would be which I was the leading hand on, was the Hibberd building in town, so in Hobart. It's adjacent to the Theatre Royal there. Some of the stuff like they're flying people in from America and Singapore just to build certain like the soundboards and these rooms in the recording studio. So it's a UCAS building for artists, and so in the recording rooms they like it was slab core filled walls, and then they had independent slabs on rubber blocks with more core filled walls, and then you couldn't have anything metallic joining the walls, so we could never run a catenary to between the walls because it would be an issue with the sound. And then Singapore, the engineer would come in from Singapore and test it at the end, and if he picked up on it, the company responsible would have to pay for all of it to be ripped apart and redone. So there's a lot of sort of pressure and working in areas like that. But it was I never want to do anything like it again. It was a lot. Yeah, it was very cool. And yeah, it was how you think you'd normally do things we had to reinvent the wheel. So that's that project for sure. So it was a good project to work on. I think at the time you sort of kind of got sick of it because you're like did get a bit painful at times. But,
Tedious, probably by the sound of
yeah,
it.
yeah, tedious for sure. But now looking back on it, you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool because you'd never really get a building like that, or very rarely get a building like that to work on.
Yeah, righto. And then sort of strangest job or sort of uncomfortable or worse sort of job that you sort of ever come across, or something like a funny one that you sort of been involved in?
Uh, Oh, I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's grimy. Strangest. I think the worst ones I probably had to work in was like an abandoned asylum or something like that.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, down sort of New Norfolk way in Tassie has all old asylums. And when I was a first year, I was in there with Chum just testing the smoke alarms and that. And it was just like this. There was still an asylum there that was in use at the top. And then there was like this old abandoned one down the bottom, but still had like a fire detective system in there. Uh, and I had to go down there, but I didn't know like the caretaker's son or whatever was living downstairs just playing like his Xbox. So they scared the absolute shit out of me when I went in there to sort of do some work. It was just really creepy, like old beds and downstairs like chairs in the middle of the room, like strapped to the floor and stuff like that. It was really eerie and yeah, probably I did not enjoy working in there at all, especially basically by myself in there most of the time. So,
Yeah. That's bizarre. Yeah, bizarre experience, hey? Sort of,
yeah.
and probably also isolated as well. Like it's not in an isolated area, which probably exemplifies your sort of,
Yeah, I think you get in your own head about it for sure. Like you're in this space by yourself. My training was like outside, I was inside in all the rooms because we're just
yeah,
testing the systems had to go for each room,
yeah,
basically. He's just out at the fire panel. So, yeah, it was definitely eerie. So at that time I was only like, yeah, 17, 18. So
yeah.
it definitely got in my head about it, sure.
Yeah, that's hilarious. And then, so what's your favorite tool in the tool bag or tool belt? What do you feel like your favorite tool is that you sort of can't live without?
I mean, it's very Sparky comes back to always like your pliers, right? I don't know, they're good for a banner hammer, they're good for everything, but I run I made the conversion when I was a third year when I went to the new home space to the scissor blades, and I can't, like the marble, what master sort of scissor blades to
Mhm.
pliers and pliers, and can't go back, so. Yeah, absolutely. I know it's a hot debate, but yeah, absolutely. I love them. Yeah, couldn't. I never try and get our uh, first years or our apprentices to smack that across the stuff with, but some of them don't like them. They end up with channel locks. But I do. recommend it because I made it across as halfway through my third year. It was like learning how to strip paper again.
Yeah, no, it can be
Yeah,
quite complex. It's very good for cutting, or like in a high speed environment that you can just it sort of just makes everything flow.
yeah, 100%.
Very interesting, mate. Very interesting. Well, mate, Hib, thanks very much for your time today. Been great to chat, learn a bit more about your journey in the industry as a whole, and learn a bit more about Hib Electrical. So, really appreciate your time, mate, and been very enjoyable. So, thank you.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Cam. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.
No worries. Cheers. Okay.
That's a wrap on another podcast. Whatever you're doing, don't be too busy to stop and check if you're making money. And above all else, you know the rules. Be kind. See you soon.